Okay, perfect. Perfect. Well, Anna, I'm so glad to have you today as a guest who I'm going to interview. And the topic today is very close to my heart and my own journey as a founder, as a leader, the inner world behind leadership. There is so much that goes into it.
There is so much to unfold, and I'm so grateful for your invitation. And this topic is very close to my heart as well. So I feel we are going to have great heart-to-heart conversation.
I believe this. So, you are, I first of all, I want to ask you, because I know you are a therapist,
Yeah.
certified therapist. You are a community builder.
Mm.
You have a program for executive women
Yeah.
leaders. You host TEDx conferences, and you're also a TEDx speaker. So, how did you come to do so many things? I'm really inspired by what you do, but I would love to hear the story.
Thank you so much. Doing the reflections from the year, I am again realizing how many things I do, but I'm very happy to admit many of them are led by excitement and by curiosity, how far I can go and how much good stuff I can share with others. But I wasn't in the field of therapy, psychology, leadership always.
Mhm.
I used to be an architect. So my
Oh,
path, you
okay.
can see it's very non-linear because you need to study a hell amount of years in order to become an architect. So I spent 7 years in school. Then I had my career of an architect in the UK by
Okay.
working for a few different practices. And with time, I started to realize that you know that exercise when they ask you, like, if you are 89 years at the end of your life, do you have
Mm.
any regrets when you look
Mm.
back? So once I start asking this kind of questions to myself, I realize that if I stay an architect all my life, I feel it narrows down my life. And
Mhm.
I feel I always wanted to become a psychologist and explore more the inner world rather than build the outer world.
Yeah.
But in the past, I thought I had a very big obstacle to do a career that will be related to speaking, because I used to stutter quite badly, and
Mhm.
I didn't even dare to think that I can speak as my job. But with time, when I realized the way I speak, that doesn't have to be an obstacle, and when my speech significantly improved too, I was bold and crazy enough to firstly envisage that I can do something else, but then slowly built a path that brought me to where I am doing a lot of amazing things I do and meeting a lot of amazing people like you.
I love that. And I want to go back to several things that you mentioned. First of all, I really loved how you described that you decided to focus on the inner world and build inner world rather than focusing on the outer world. And that is so true. It's also architecture,
It
right?
is
Our inner
architecture.
world is being built throughout the lifetime. So you are coming from a very much needed perspective
Thank you.
for someone.
And I think being an architect really helped me with the systemic approach, because we don't always know how to approach that intangible in a world that we cannot touch but we feel, and it's the primary world where everything is born. Our decisions, our actions, our behavior. So why we are so focused outwards yet everything what we see in the outer world starts inside. So I thought about it, I think, from the very early age, and then eventually I thought, okay, I might be the one who will play with it and see what will happen.
I love that.
Thank you.
And, I'm myself on a journey of discovering how my inner world, how my patterns that formed throughout my lifetime are influencing my decisions these days as a founder, as a leader, as a parent, as a grown up person in this world. And it's interesting that I came up with this metaphor for my inner world as a building. So just
Ah,
as you
what a
mentioned,
coincidence.
yeah, I realized that what I've built inside myself throughout the lifetime is a building made from a lot of little building blocks.
Of course.
Some of them are useful. Some of them were formed really in a rush because I needed them to be like built quickly. And I really like this perspective that we are building it and we are witnessing it as something that needs to be a stable structure we can rely on.
Exactly. And what is good in regards to that metaphoric building inside to compare with the actual building that we design in architecture, that when we build something inside, we know already a lot about neuroplasticity, that whatever we built inside, it's not set in stone. And whatever we decided early on that is now affected the way we make decisions, if it's not working well in life, we can undo it, we can unlearn it, we can reinstall the bricks, even if it's in foundation. Because when I talk about childhood, yeah, I relate a lot to kind of it's a foundation of your metaphoric building. It takes some work to disassemble the building, the structure, the mental structure that you built in order to live the way you do. But if something doesn't work, it's important to look at the foundation, rebuild it, redesign it, and then build a new, better house on top of that.
Yeah, I love how you put it. Um, I must say that for me, it came to my mind pretty recently that I can actually look at this foundation that has been built and I can influence it. So I lived for 34 years without realizing that I can influence what has been built.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, how do you see people are coming to this point of realizing that, okay, what I created so far can be reassessed,
Yeah.
and I can look back and take certain parts that no longer serve me out?
Yeah, yeah. I wish I would have some nice positive answer for you, but actually what comes to my mind is that we humans, we learn a lot through pain. So when I realize that something is not working for me to the extent that it creates pain and suffering in my life, only then I tap into the motivation to actually look at the root of that suffering rather than constantly trying to come up with new ways to manage symptoms. So very often people come to work with me because they realize they are in pain or something, or they are annoyed, that they are aware that something is happening, like a repetitive behavior, but they don't know how to change it. So they feel uncomfortable and they come for help.
Yeah, so pain and suffering are
Our
necessary
main
steps.
driver, for better or for worse, but I think it's just our human nature that we can learn to accept.
Yeah, as long as we are comfortable, we are not motivated enough to do the work. Yeah, sounds logical to me.
Sometimes I think sometimes we can be driven by curiosity, but I
Mhm.
think there is some level of inner work needs to be done in order to be driven by curiosity and excitement, like, oh, what is there around the corner of my inner world, or what would happen if I do this or that, and I might need a little help to get there faster or quicker or in a more efficient way, or I realize that I have blind spots, and in order to see them, I really need an extra pair of eyes
Mhm.
that will help me to see myself clearly.
Yeah. So, from the people you work with, what are some of the most common things that are coming from our earlier years and are influencing how we exist in the world, how we lead?
Yeah, yeah. Uh, it's going to be quite basic what I say, but I do feel it's in the center of everything what we do. I am going to talk about need for love.
Mm.
From the very first day we are born, we really need someone near to love us, to care about us, to attach to someone. Because
Mm-hmm.
newborn, they don't have a sense of awareness yet, so they need attachment. They are attaching to the mother in order through the mother learn about ourselves. So that quest for love, I don't think it ever ends.
Mm.
So what I see, and I don't know, it's a popular opinion, that even even in the leadership phase, what we do, it can be connected to the way we seek love, give love, and so on. And we are, or so many of us, we are unloved children of
Mm-hmm.
parents who have their own inner children who were not loved enough too. So we can't necessarily blame the parents for that, but at the same time, we can realize that there are some parts in us that unconsciously seek love that we haven't received. And whether we want
Mm-hmm.
it or not, sometimes these needs, unfulfilled needs, they actually penetrate the way we lead, the way we work, what intentions we have when we build projects, companies, when we collaborate. And it's all these unfulfilled needs of the child I once was, it gets activated either under big stress, because when
Mm-hmm.
I'm stressed, my cognitive capacity decreases, and I'm then in the world of emotions, and this is exactly where the younger self
Mm-hmm.
lives. Or the developmental patterns get activated whenever we are in the relationship with another. And I'm not talking only about the romantic relationship. I believe leadership is about relationship, because you cannot lead in a vacuum. You need to have someone to engage, to manage, to be managed, to collaborate, to give feedback. So in the relationship, our developmental patterns gets activated very much.
So, can you give me some real life examples how this unsatisfied need for love in a
Yeah,
childhood
yeah,
can show itself in leadership?
yeah. One of the examples. If I learned as a child that love is conditional,
Mm-hmm.
which means I need to do something. I need to achieve something. I need to be someone in order for mom or dad to love me. I grew up and I become a leader who might run an extra mile in order to prove that I am worthy of where I am. I am worthy, or I am deserving of the position I have, of the money I receive, of the responsibility I have. So it can directly lead to burnout or constant dissatisfaction, because work or business or doing startup, it will never replace that love at the core that we never received as a child, because it's not a function of work, it's not the function of what we do for work. Only authentic or relationship can fill the whole of that unloved part. But if we use the work for that, we will never heal that part, unfortunately.
Yeah, yeah, that sounds very familiar.
Yeah.
I think I also got into this trap as a founder.
Me also. We've been there. I
Achieving,
think we all
achieving, yeah.
been there at some point.
Yeah, and it's interesting. You don't really think much. Why are you achieving more and more, and why are you keep asking more from yourself until you get to this point when you're really tired, really have no energy to achieve anymore. It was for me when I started asking, so why was I doing what I do? What is the purpose of it?
What is the
Why did
goal?
I exhaust myself?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very often behind that behavior is
Mm-hmm.
the part that has the unfulfilled need,
Mm-hmm.
and we are really trying hard to fulfill that need, but sometimes we use the tools that are not made for fulfilling that need. Moreover, sometimes the need cannot be fulfilled in the way we want. Therefore, a big part of the inner work I do is actually to invite people in different parts of us to grieve, to do the work of grief,
Mm-hmm.
because we get stuck in the repetitive patterns when we really try to replay this scenario where we finally received something that we really wanted. But if we don't grieve that it will never happen, we will constantly get ourselves into the situations and into the relationship with people who will replay to us only one scenario where we will never get what we need. But once we grieve the fact that, yes, my mom was a human being, my dad was emotionally unavailable because he had his own childhood trauma. I cannot change them. I don't choose the parents I have. And it's really, really sad. Once I'm brave enough to see it with my sadness, it is then we find the space inside that liberates us from the repetitive patterns we don't want to have in life.
So that's very interesting. So what I hear is that this sadness and this time when you accept what happened, why this happened, is essential to getting over this pattern. Is this what you
I
said?
think so, yes. Yes. Because unless we grieve, there will still be that false sense of hope. What if I achieve the next round of investment? What if I build not one startup but five? What if I prove myself to the board? What if another thing? Then I will get. Then I will feel like I deserve. Then I will feel like I am enough. but that what if feeds in the false sense of hope that supports the scenario where we don't receive. So in order to leave this scenario, we need to accept that we might never receive the love we seek. This is very sad, and there needs to be a certain amount of inner work before, because it's we need to feel safe inside. Our younger self needs to trust us enough. But once we reach that point when we can do it, it feels very liberating, very free. And it is then we start feeling the space inside from which we don't have to react to the trigger anymore, but we can eventually choose the response.
So Anna, how do a person comes to this point when they can overcome their unconscious patterns through grieving? It seems to me that you need a lot of self-awareness to realize that it's hurting you.
You are right. I think self-awareness is the key, because if you want to change something, you need to be aware what it is you want to change. Otherwise, you're like a surgeon working inside the body and you don't see anything. So definitely awareness is the key. Without that, we will not go far. But as someone who is coming from the strong meditation background, when I used to sit like for many hours in meditation a day, and I was very curious about like how strong my awareness can be, what is this journey, I realized that awareness can bring you that far, but then there is a stage when one can feel big frustration, when I am aware what I am replaying, I am aware how I am reacting, but I don't know how to change it. Then, besides having the level of awareness that helps me to see what I want to change, there are also a few things need to happen. Thing one is I need to train my capacity to sit with the discomfort.
Okay, how do you do so?
By practicing. Because when I'm aware enough to see something inside of me that is not helping me to lead my life the way I want, this is quite frustrating, isn't it? But if I let this frustration boil in me, then I will just eventually escape and avoid, and I will not have a way to kind of approach what I want to change. But if I train my capacity to sit with discomfort, and there are many things that can help us with that. Meditation, it's a beautiful ancient tool. I've never felt so much pain in my life by sitting in 2-hour meditation, and it's both the physical pain and the mental pain, but there is no way to escape it because it happens inside and you focus inside. So this practice helps you to develop that capacity to sit with discomfort. Another practice that I love is called plunge, for example.
Okay.
When you put your body in a very cold water, there is a lot of discomfort, but you do it consciously, and you know that you will not die at the end, and you teach your mind to tolerate discomfort by facing it rather than avoiding it. Because why things are not happening inside of us, even if we see them, because we see them, but after that we avoid them, or we run away, or we don't know what to do with it because it's too unbearable, it's too uncomfortable. So once we learn to look at discomfort with curiosity, this is a thing number 2. So A, sitting with discomfort. Oh, but
Yeah.
what can help with that is actually approach what you see with curiosity, because this
Right.
create a sense of an open mind. It is then I can explore what really happened to me, why I am reacting in this way, what I am trying to achieve there, without self-loathing or without self-criticizing.
Yeah.
I am
Yeah.
able to explore.
Yeah. I'm thinking about what has helped me to
I
sit
will
with the
be
discomfort.
curious about that.
Yeah.
What do you think it was?
I think it was discomfort. I haven't actually tried to meditate by this point or do cold plunges. But what I did, I was going for my runs several times a week and I was doing strength training. And this is also discomfort,
Of course
conscious
it is.
discomfort you're pushing yourself to do. And those were the moments, I think, when I experienced the physical discomfort and I learned that this is something I can tolerate if it benefits me.
Yeah,
I believe that this helped me process their like emotional discomfort on things too.
I'm very glad to hear that.
Yeah. Okay. So I do have more questions to you.
Yay.
So many leaders that I see, and myself included, are really proud of being resilient.
Mm.
And this word has a lot of meaning and it holds a lot. Resilience, for some people, it's pushing through
Yeah,
no matter what. So, how do you actually distinguish the healthy resilience from exhaustion?
yeah, yeah. This is a very good question, and I think there is a big difference. And I feel I am my own experiment in that, because coming from a post-USSR country, I think I inherited a lot of the survival patterns, adaptive survival patterns that, for better or for worse, made me very resilient. But the cost of the resilience that comes from adaptive survival patterns is very high. Because when we exercise resilience from the place of survival, it's very easy there to get disconnected from the body,
Mm-hmm.
because we no longer feel the present needs of the body, but we are in the world, in the scenario, and the illusion that we need to do something because there is a big danger. Because if I don't do, if I fail, if I don't do enough, something bad will happen. So the
Mm-hmm.
big difference between healthy resilience and resilience that based on trauma is the place from which I am deciding to be resilient.
Mm-hmm.
Am I resilient in order to prove something to someone? Am I resilient in order because I fear that someone would really see me and they will see what an imposter I am? Or am I resilient because it's a choice, and if I don't want to be resilient, I am okay?
Mm-hmm. So, how do you find out what is behind your resilience?
I ask questions. I ask questions inside of me. What am I trying to achieve to
Mm-hmm.
be that resilient? And if
Mm-hmm.
resilience keep me safe, if
Mm-hmm.
resilience protects me from something, it shows to me that okay, I might want to do some inner work about it and discover more about my survival patterns and what is the root behind it. But
Mm-hmm.
if on the question why I am resilient, why I am working that much, The answer is because I want, because I choose, because it's fun, because again I have that sense of curiosity, how far I can come. It's a completely different space that I act from, and completely different state of mind, state of nervous system when I am resilient.
Yeah. And you mentioned that you yourself realized that being an immigrant made you resilient. And I experienced it myself. I see it in other people around me who are immigrants, that they have an exceptional level of what we call resilience.
Yeah.
And in most cases, it is
The
survival, right?
survival one. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you notice it in your work that in immigrants, this resilience related to survival is something that is more present?
Absolutely. Because when we choose to immigrate or have to immigrate, we become detached from our network, from the environment that helps us to feel safe. And when we don't feel safety enough around us or inside of us, of course, it activates the protectors inside the parts that will do the best they can to help us to survive. And I still belong to the group that has a big resilience, because it comes from survival, and it's not like I can undo the childhood conditioning and cultural conditioning that I grew up in a day. Sometimes the patterns take over, but what makes a difference is then how I approach the part of me that is in panic and it feels it needs to be resilient in order to survive. How I talk to that part, how I manage to bring that part from the past to the present moment, how I keep showing with love, with compassion, without making myself feel guilty or inadequate, that, hey, this was the past, but look where we are now, and look how many things in life show to us that we are okay. But it's almost like it's a constant work. It's like brushing your teeth in the morning. We always have the inner dialogue on the background. If you think you don't, it means you are not aware enough of that. But when we bring attention to how we actually talk to ourselves throughout the day, and if we manage to change that talk to a kinder, to more accepting, to more compassionate, this is where real healing happen, without trying to be perfect or enlightened or being better than others. No, we are still traumatized children of traumatized patterns, but we learn to love ourselves and feel the sense of peace and calm in that aspect of common humanity.
Yeah. So you mentioned that some of this desire for safety, for surviving, is coming from the earlier parts of us,
Yeah.
and that you need to talk to these parts. Can you expand on this? What do you mean by this?
Yeah, absolutely. When I realize that the way I feel doesn't match the current reality I live, this is a sign for me that a part in me got activated that comes
Can you give
from
an
the
example? Can you give a particular, like, real life example where you notice this
let's
mismatch?
say I feel unsafe to do public speaking because I am afraid that people will judge me and they will see how big of an imposter I am, and if they really see me as I am, they will abandon me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If this is the belief I have, I become aware of it, and I check it against the reality. And I check it against, I did some public speaking in the past. Did people reject me? Not really. They actually resonated a lot with what I have to say. And they said I had a charm, and it's very nice to listen to me. And so I am realizing there is a mismatch between my internal narrative and what the reality is actually showing to me. At this point, I realize, okay, it means that a younger part of me who in the past had that experience. Maybe it was an experience of rejection. Maybe she was so afraid that if she would show up, speak up, that she will not receive love and attention. And she still lives in that reality that from time to time overshadows my current reality. And no matter how many certificates in public speaking I have, or how many big conferences I participated in, or how many TEDx talks I did, that part is not able to fully receive it, because in the past something remains unresolved. And only if I come back to that moment in the past and talk to the part and be very kind to the part and allow that part to have all her feelings and emotions, and I myself support that part. I call it, in the child work, we call it reparenting. I talk to that part like a loving and caring parent of the child. And I tell to her, yeah, it's really hard to experience that. I understand how stressed you are and how big is your fear. And I'm very compassionate to that. I see you. Our basic, biggest need is to be seen. Because as Gabor Mate tells us, that trauma happened not when some horrible event happened to us. It happens when something bad happens to us and no one is there around to see us in that, so we can share that horrible experience. So what we do, we are reparenting the younger part by staying present with her emotion. And gradually remind her that yes, this has happened, this is true, you felt that, but you invite her back to the present moment and you show her the different reality. So this is an example of the inner dialogue that one can practice in order to start bringing all the parts from the past experience, from the past reality, to the present that is much more safe and adequate.
So you yourself become the parent that this younger part of you needed
and probably never had, if some emotional experience remained unresolved and it keeps being recycled and projected on my current reality. And if I don't come back to resolve it, again, no matter how many TEDx talks I do, it will never be enough. It will never feel safe enough.
Yeah, this is really profound. Yeah, we are almost at time for our conversation today. So I would love to ask you one closing question, Anna. So if I asked you to give just one advice on how to act from the point of your adult leader rather than from younger parts that influence so much, what is this advice from you?
I think the advice would be around the concept of parts. In the world we have, there is no mono me. There are different parts of me.
How many parts do we have?
Depends. We don't know. But there is an inner team, what I call, that is always working for you. And even in some harmful repetitive patterns, what that part is trying to do is probably to keep you safe, to protect you. So when we see our inner world as a collection of parts, and if we remember that there is no single part that is bad, we don't have bad parts in our inner team. That already allows us very big thing. It gives us space between me and the part that is reactive, that behaves in a certain way that you don't like, the part that creates pain and suffering in your life, or the part that makes you a controlling leader and you don't want to be in that. When you manage to see it as a part, not the whole me, but it's a part of me, it already creates space between me and the part, and that space allows me to choose how to respond to that part and to
Yeah.
see it with curiosity rather than shaming the self for or what a bad part I have, or what a strange behavior I exhibit.
Yeah. So you are recognizing the part that is trying to talk and trying to act, and you are consciously listening to it,
Yes.
and you are talking to it and responding to it,
Yeah, and you're
right?
trying to understand the goal, like what's the goal behind? What are you trying to do for me? And when I see that behavior as a part, something like I am witnessing, I am in the position of the witness. It means that I don't identify with this big emotion or with that part I don't like. I am someone bigger than that. And it's that exact position we need to be, because only from this, we call it meta position, we are able to choose how to respond to the needs of the part, and it's there we experience positive change in our life.
Well, thank you. Thank you for this advice. It's really, really meaningful. I really enjoyed our conversation today. Thank you so much for your time, for joining, for giving us the insight in how our inner worlds work, how we can make conscious choices, how we can show up as in a way that we want to show up as leaders. Uh, Thank you so much, Anna. We will save this
Thank you,
conversation
Sveta.
for anyone who wasn't able to join live. And thank you to those of you who joined us.
Thank you so much for your time and for your curiosity towards the topic, and for being brave to walk your path and do inner work and share your discoveries with others. It's very, very inspiring.